Well, hello, and welcome to the Clue Bird. I'm your host, R. Wayne Brown. Developing emotional maturity in our kids is vitally important. We should teach this skill as early as possible to help them solve the countless problems they will encounter. We're not born with emotional maturity. Far from it. We are born as human beings, and as children, we reluctantly do very little for ourselves. However, over the years, our lives begin that slow transformation from human beings into human doers, and it's a tough process. With my kids, it seemed the more I tried to get them to do for themselves, the more they fought it. I remember their terrible twos. If they tried to do something they couldn't, wow, they often reacted emotionally with needless outbursts of anger and frustration. How many times did I hurriedly serve up some delicious strained beach of baby food, only to have it wiped off the high chair tray with the back of my angry kid's arm, much to the delight of our dog. Learning to tie their shoes, brushing their teeth, getting dressed, ready for kindergarten, and on and on. It was a non-stop fight, and my kids, probably like yours, reacted emotionally to all of this. Emotional immaturity on a daily display. So my job as dad was to slowly teach my kids countless things and try to inject thought, logic, and reason as cornerstones to their learning. Teaching them to react to a problem with calm thinking instead of emotional outbursts was the painful beginnings of developing their emotional maturity. I found this to be a very long journey. Very long. However, step by step, I taught them to think and reason things out instead of hysteria. I would coach them that their problem was a gift. I'm certain that as parents, you know exactly what I'm discussing here. This reminded me of an incident I had a while back. Well, so far back, it was when we communicated with smoke signals, according to my kids. Well, when I was in school, I had a problem with my math class. It was terrible. I disliked the teacher, the subject, and I hated it so much I'd often get angry just dealing with it. Looking at it now, I realize my response fully displayed my emotional immaturity. Not owning my problem and blaming it on practically anything else but me only added to the dilemma. So I concluded my teacher was bad, we were all failing her lousy class, and on it went. It was my version of me cleaning the high chair tray with the back of my arm. Acting immaturely, I simply chose to ignore the class. Sat in the back, didn't pay attention, didn't do the homework, and tried to cheat on the test just to get by. That didn't work so hot. Sound familiar? I'll bet you and maybe some of your kids might have had similar experiences dealing with their problems. Back then, I was governed by emotional immaturity. I needlessly created lots of emotion, trying to rid myself of my dilemma. And all of that misspent energy, it didn't solve my issue, it just made it worse. Well, luckily, one night my uncle stopped by our house, and after dinner, looking at my report card, he curiously asked me about my lousy grade in math. Why, he asked. And then he very calmly told me to, while growing up, I will discover problems are a constant experience in life. In fact, he continued, I guarantee that you will be faced with a nonstop and seemingly endless stream of problems. We all do. You must learn, and hopefully learn early in life, that your reactions to your problems are often far more important than your actual problems. Let me share with you how to deal with problems, he said. It's important. He told me first, I had to own my problem and admit that I caused it in the first place. And since I created it, also know you can eliminate it with minimal effort. No emotions needed. After owning it, he told me to view it as a gift. The gift with your math class is the world screaming at you that you have a weakness in your development there. He said it's like putting on a large spotlight on something to help you see it more clearly so that you can then fix it and move on. No emotions. As he was leaving, he said, what we discussed is important, so tell me what you heard while you walked me to my car. Well, surprised and somewhat awkwardly, I said, first, we own it. It's a problem. It's my problem. I created it. I stammered. Well, then I calmed down to say, you told me to cut out all of my emotional silliness. It's called emotional immaturity. You said I had to eliminate all of my negative self-talk or emotional blathering. And then I must immediately eliminate saying negative things to myself like, it's hopeless. I'm not very smart. I should just quit. I can't do this, and on and on and on. Well, I told him that he said fixing a problem requires resolve and logic, not emotion. Instead, you told me to act like I would act as if I were the president of a company facing numerous issues. What would I do? How would I act? I repeated back to him that with logic and calm reasoning, I would identify several options, and if implemented, they would solve my current issue. I repeated back to him that with logic and calm reasoning, I would identify several options, and if implemented, would solve my current issue. You said I should then pick and commit to using one of those options with passion and furious implementation until my issue is solved. That's emotional maturity. Then I promised him I would do exactly that from now on, and I thanked him. All alone that night, after he drove off, I quickly sat down without emotion and logically decided on the following plan. I wanted to test it. I wanted to see if it worked. I wrote it out on a piece of paper and taped it to my bathroom mirror. My plan was to treat my math class issue as a gift, get help immediately from my teacher, friends, family, and mix that with focused hard work. In class, sit up front, pay attention, ask questions, and do all of the homework. Get ahead in the course. No emotions, no hysteria, and no negative self-talk. And commit to executing my plan until my problem was gone. That was my plan. Wow. In less than a month, my math class was no longer an issue. It really worked. My uncle's advice was excellent. It was a joy, and to my surprise, I was soon helping others in the same class that I once hated. To this day, I am grateful to my uncle for teaching me that life lesson. His advice that night changed the quality of my life. My uncle taught me that my reaction to my problem was far more important than the problem itself, and boy, was he right. Teaching this to my kids early helped them as much as it did me. It taught them to treat their unwanted issues as gifts. They learned to deal with the logical plan and not hysteria. They were no longer held back or stymied with the buildup of their issues. Not having their numerous problems stack up eliminated yet another problem. Their newfound freedom accelerated their progress, helping them make their dreams come true. and become the victors they were born to become. And so can your kids by working with them early to ensure the development of their emotional maturity. I think we would agree that emotional maturity is a got to have vital asset they must develop and possess to navigate life's many challenges. I want to thank you for tuning in today. I hope you got something useful out of this, and if you did, be sure to subscribe. My book, The Clue Bird, is now available on Amazon. Get your copy today. Oh, and hot tip. Until our next visit, I would like for you to think about self-leadership and always doing the maximum at whatever task you are involved with.